In this demonstration, I would like to share with you 4 key strategies to put in place to secure critical infrastructure. These include not just preventive, detective, response, and deception controls. Scenario 1, it's about providing visibility and segmentations to the ICS environment and protect against known threats. Now, the use case here is virtual patching. So what is virtual patching? In most ICS environment, PLC and RTU are running legacy firmware which has known vulnerability CVE reported against this firmware. As plant managers do not want to disrupt productions, these PLC and RTU are usually left unpatched, which expose them to attack. So with virtual patching, we are able to ensure that these PLC running legacy firmware are protected against known threats. Schneider Electric Modicon M221 running firmware 1.3.3.3 has a known CVE reported against it. So if the attackers were to run this string of characters, they will be able to discover the password, and with that they can modify the PLC task, causing disruptions and safety related issues. We have a ruggedized FortiGate next gen firewall over here, the ruggedized for the switch, and on the right hand side you can see there is a PLC and RTU slave. So on the left hand side, a SCADA master controlling the PLC slave. Over here I have the attackers, which is going to launch the attack against this unpatched PLC. Logs from the FortiGate will be forwarded to the FortiAnalyzer, and if the plant has no internet connections, then the FortiManager in this case could be the one that will be pushing the updates to the FortiGate in a offline environment. So over here I have the attacker on my left hand side. It is running Kali Linux and some of the tools within Metasploit framework. On the right hand side I have a PLC simulator running Modbus PAL, and you can see the holding register value as well as the COI value. In between these two, I have the FortiGate, as you can see over here. Let's look at how FortiGate can provide visibility and segmentation protection against known threats. The true value here is the security fabric vision that Fortinet have started out 3 years ago. The fabric should be able to provide visibility, automation, as well as integration. Now, from a logical topology over here, we are able to provide the visibility as to which machine is connected to which logical port within a FortiGate. Here we are able to see with the host name, MAC address, which port is connected to, so on and so forth. If we want to, we can even do a right click and ban the IP address if that IP address is deemed as malicious. And from here, we are able to do a temporary ban or permanent ban of the IP address. Now, from a device inventory, we are able to do device detection and able to catalog the different type of operating system running within your environment. Let's look at application control signatures. Let's look at the different vendors that we support. That includes Schneider Electric, ABB, GE, Rockwell, Siemens, just to name a few. These vendors use their own proprietary protocols, and this could include DMP3, Modbus, OPC, so on and so forth. Now, FortiGate's application control contact signatures allow us to do a deep packet inspections to this application. Let's take a look at the different applications that we support within FortiGate. We support BACnet, CIP, and different function code DMP3, EchoNet, EtherS bus, HART IP, Siemens S7, IEC 104, and of course Modbus. With deep packet inspection, we understand whether that is a write, read to a register. So with that, we are able to further create rule-based that the HMI can only do a read, but not a Modbus write in this case. Now let's look at the intrusion preventions IPS signatures that we have for industrial. And I'm going to just do a search on China Electric. And as you can see, China Electrics have different vulnerabilities reported against some of their systems, and the Modicon M221 has a CVE reported against it as well. Now over here, I have run the attack script and the logs that was created on the FortiGate. It says that China Electric M221 information disclosure IPS signatures has been triggered and action has been set to drop. Now the logs can be sent to, for example, FortiAnalyzer. Let's look at how the logs looks like in a FortiAnalyzer. Now this will provide a more visual impact for management reporting, and over here we are able to show visibility of the application that is running within your environment. That could be Modbus, DNP3, so on and so forth. Key highlight here is the top 10 threats chart, and as you can see there, this red icon we can double click on to drill into that information, and over here we show that there's actually two IP address. The first IP address 99.88, which is a SCADA master. Now this could be a disgruntled employee knowing that he's going to be leaving the organizations, and he has access to the SCADA master and could potentially run this known exploit against the PLC. The second attacker 99.99 could be a contractor that have access to the system, and other than doing what he's supposed to do regular maintenance, he could be running the script against that unpatched PLC. Now luckily, with FortiGate in place, we are able to drop that traffic and prevent the attacks. Scenario number 2, anomaly detection and response. This is where Fortinet partner with our Fabric Ready partner to provide the anomaly detection. When there's an anomaly being detected, the logs and alerts is going to send to a FortiSIEM for 24/7 response. So let's look at what can an attacker do. They could gain access to the SCADA system, modify the Modbus devices. They can either attack the SCADA master or the slave. Now the severity of the impact will increase if they were to attack the slave, because this slave will actually be connected to some of the physical devices, sensors such as valve, motors, pump, so on and so forth. In this case, the attacker can read the value from the slave, write the value, or compromise the slave. Now this could means that you could change the coil or holding registers to spin the motor faster, so that you disrupt the production. This is scenario number 2, anomaly detection and response, where we introduce our Fabric Ready partner Nozomi to do the anomaly detection, and if there's any alert being detected or if there's any anomaly detected, Nozomi will send an alert to 24/7 SOC. In this case, we're using FortiSIEM for the demo, and of course it can be sent to a third-party MSSP. Now the 24/7 team will do the analysis, and in the event if there's an attack, if they discover that malicious IP address, they will have to call the OT team to block off that address manually. This is where the manual intervention will have to occur. So upon receiving the call from the SOC team, the OT team can break glass, pull cable. Now, how long? Let me ask you, how long does it take for you in a cyber attack to identify which switch port is the IP address of the attacker connected to. And it takes you a month or at best weeks in this case. Let's look at Nozomi, which is our Fabric Ready partner. This is the dashboard, and you can see over here the graph indicates that there is a SCADA master 99.77 connecting to a PLC slave of 101.5, and that indicate the icon red means this is a master, blue is a slave. Now, of course, in an actual ICS environment, you will have more than one master and a slave, and this will be typically what you will see in the customer environment to provide the visibility to the OT team. And in this case, it will show you what is the protocol that is communicating from master to the slave, what type of PLC, firmware. From an asset viewpoint, it's able to show you some of the asset that he has discovered, and if you click on one of the asset, it can indicate some of the firmware, the vendor name, so on and so forth, and if there's any vulnerability associated to that firmware, it will be reported in a CVE listed here. Now this is where you can take actions to say, okay, we need to put in virtual patching if that vulnerability discovered has a known exploit developed and it is of a high risk. So from a process viewpoint, the baseline of the process value can be captured. In this case, it could be a temperature value, could be a motor speed value, or even a water level value. So as any deviation from that normal process value, and then it could also trigger alerts. So right now, I have set Nozomi into learning mode, and we're going to change that to protection mode. And let's look at the firewall integration. I have not enabled any firewall integration, so if there's any alert, the alerts is going to be sent to the FortiSIM or any third-party MSSP. So all is good, there's no alert right now. So from a FortiGate, let's look at the policy. Basically, I've just set the policy to any allow, but I have put on the IPS, turn on the IPS signatures profile. What can an attacker do? There's this tool called Modbus Detect, where the attacker can scan the network for any PLC listening on 502. So of course, the attackers can scan a full Class C network, but in this demo, I'm just going to be scanning 6 hosts, and the tool shows that there is this host 100.195 listening on 502. Okay, so what can the attacker do next? There's this tool called NBT Get. Basically, this tool can read the holding register as well as the COI value of the PLC slave or RTU slave. Let's look at this. So trying to read the 10 values of the holding register, and this is basically to read the COI value. So corresponding holding register on the PLC, RTU, as well as the COI value. So what's next? Now, having understand the holding register and the COI value or the ladder logic within the PLC, the attacker could use a Modbus client, in this case, to do a write value to the holding register. So look at, I'm going to change the value of holding register 4, which correspond to address 5 because it starts from 0. I'm going to change that value to, say, spinning the motor speed faster to disrupt the centrifugal. Now you can see over here the PLC holding register value has changed to 5599. This is an inherent weakness of the Modbus protocol, simply because it does not authenticate the SCADA master. It is in clear text, and today it could be SCADA master A asking for the holding register or coil values. It doesn't authenticate when another SCADA master comes along pretending to be a SCADA master and asking for these values and changing that value as well. So let's see what Nozomi has picked up. So looking at the alerts, we can see that there is a new node of 99.99. This new node was discovered, and it attempted to connect on TCP 502 to 100.195, which is the PLC slave. And it is trying to do a reading of the holding register, reading of the coil value, as well as changing the value. As you can see over here, expected value is 55, but it has increased that value to 5599. So what's next? So of course, this alert has to be sent to a security operations center. Now, let's look at that security operations center that we have. Over here, it is a FortiSIM, and we could have the dashboard, the OT dashboard, where we have all the alerts from Nozomi sending to the SOC team and the source IP address of the attackers, having do the analysis and discover that 99.99 is the bad guy. They will now need to call the OT team. The OT team will need to either pull the cable from the switch port, that would take a while, or they could go to FortiGate, do a banning of the IP address when they find the host 99.99. So that's scenario number 2, where we partner with our fabric-ready partner Nozomi to do the anomaly detection, and alerts are sent to the SOC team, in this case running FortiSIM. Scenario number 3, automating the OT security fabric. In order to shorten the attacker's dwell time within your environment, as soon as Nozomi detect any anomaly, other than sending alerts to a SOC, Nozomi could communicate with the FortiGate to block off the attacker. So let's see how we do that. So Nozomi has been set to protecting mode in this scenario, and FortiGate integration has been enabled. Now let's look at what the attackers can do in scenario 2, and we're going to rerun those attacks. We do that scanning using Modbus detect. We're going to run MBT get, as well as trying to read and write the holding register, changing that value to 5599. So from the FortiGate IPv4 policy, you can see that the rules allow any. There was no deny rules created. And so what happened is that Nozomi picks up the anomaly. Other than sending alerts to the SOC, it has communicated with FortiGate, and FortiGate has created a block rules to block off 99.99. So with this, let's look at the result of the attempt to write to the holding register was not successful. Attempt to read the holding register and coil value was not successful as well. Shows the automations of the security fabric, where Nozomi detects there's an anomaly and inform FortiGate to create the rules to block off the attacker. Scenario number 4, Art of Deception. FortiDeceptor is a honeypot which we'll be placing honeypot which act like a PLC RTU within an OT environment. so that we lure them into those honeypot and attempt to expose them. Now, how do we do that? So within our OT environment, what we can do is we can spin off deception virtual machines simulating like a OT environment with a PLC, HMI, as well as SCADA master. This is the FortiDeceptor dashboard where we are able to show you some of the decoy service distributions such as RDP, SMB, and we know that malware as well as ransomware do propagate through Windows RDP. Now, we can click on the attacker and who is the victim, view the incidents, some of the honeypot that we have created over here. We are very sure that if there's any attempt to connect to the honeypot, whether is it unintentional or accidental, we will have the ability to quickly respond to that, because no one should be connecting to this honeypot in any case. If we get this IP address, we are very sure, and then we can quickly do the investigations, remove, quarantine that malicious IP address from your environment. With the enormous amount of data flowing into the SOC, the analyst might miss out some of this attack. When there's an attempt to connect to the honeypot, whether intentional or unintentional, we can quickly know that this is the IP address and take actions to remove them. Thank you very much